Which is better, the Apple Watch Series 10 or the Whoop 4.0? To answer this question for myself, I tried both devices for about a month and measured them on three metrics, one being comfort, second being their performance during workouts, and third being the sleep scores. Let's see what I found. Firstly, speaking of comfort with the Whoop, I wore this thing the whole month around the clock, and the only time I took it off was when I was about to shower. Even though it says it is waterproof, I just didn't feel comfortable using it in the shower. And to open it takes a bit of a struggle, and then comes off nicely. To tie it back on, voila. And now for the Apple Watch. To take it off, I just simply unclip the Apple Sport Loop, and then it can come off fairly easily. I can then just put it back on, tighten it to the way I want it to be, and voila. And now, speaking of comfort with the two bands, I generally think I'm someone who doesn't like wearing watches because they irritate my skin, but with these two, I'm happy to report that I could not feel any irritation. I have been wearing these around the clock for over a month, and 90% of the time I don't even notice they are there. Now the Whoop does feel a bit lighter than the Apple Watch, but the difference isn't that big in my opinion. And with the Sport Loop for the Apple Watch, I feel they are both just as comfortable. I recorded a workout on an assault bike with both watches on either arm, and right now on the screen you are seeing the Whoop's activity session, and I really like how it tells you the heart rate zone you are in. And here are the results of the session. The upper chart shows the Apple Watch and the lower one shows the Whoop and what my heart rate was during this 20-minute workout. In terms of accuracy, I felt that the Apple Watch was more snappy and more accurate in terms of how I was actually feeling. I also was wearing a Polar VeritySense heart rate monitor on my bicep, and that too was more in line with what the Apple Watch was showing. So in terms of accuracy, I think the Apple Watch is a winner, especially on an assault bike workout. And finally, coming to the sleep portion, I really like how Whoop gives you a percentage score of how well you slept, and it gives you a breakdown of the number of hours it thinks you need to sleep versus how many hours you actually slept. And then it also further breaks it down into what portion of your sleep was deep sleep and how much of it was REM sleep. The Apple Watch, on the other hand, gives you a chart which shows at what time of your sleep were you in deep sleep mode and at what time you were in REM sleep and what portion of it was core sleep. Now it's time for the final verdict. And before we dive into it, pause the video and comment below which one will you get for yourself, the Whoop or the Apple Watch. And also make sure to subscribe to the channel because I will be uploading more videos related to time, health, and wealth. Once you've done that, let's dive into what I think will work for me long term. First criteria was comfort. The Whoop here was marginally better than the Apple Watch, but with the Sport Loop of the Apple Watch, I felt the difference was very small and you can't go wrong with the Apple Watch either. The next criteria was performance accuracy during a workout. I tested both trackers using an assault bike. I also had a Polar VeritySense heart rate monitor. I've experienced is pretty accurate. Let me see if I can find that. Here we go. This is the Polar VeritySense heart rate monitor. I love this thing. It is pretty accurate. And to me, when it comes to heart rate accuracy and snappiness of the results, clear winner was the Apple Watch. And lastly, let's go to the sleep segment. I initially loved how the Whoop was showing percentages of how well my sleep score is, like 94%, 100%. But after a while, I felt like this was anxiety inducing for me, and anything less than 100 would make me anxious. So after a few weeks of trying it, I felt that the Apple's way of showing your sleep cycles and not giving you an exact percentage is really the way to go for me long term. With that, I think the verdict for me is pretty clear. I will be keeping the Apple Watch and returning the Whoop.